Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Webinar Wednesdays with SMP. We're really happy to have you all here with us this morning. My name is Sunny Lawless, and I'm the volunteer coordinator for our SMP programs. I'll be your host for this morning, and presenting for us today will be Danae Brown and Danielle Guillory, who are both community outreach specialists from our Mississippi SMP. Today, for the July installment of Webinar Wednesdays, we're going to talk about durable medical equipment fraud and scams. During the presentation, you're welcome to type any questions that you might have into the chat, but we're going to hold all of those until the end of the presentation when we'll open it up for Q&A. And there will be a prize drawing at the end of the presentation today, but you must have been registered to attend the webinar before 10:15 this morning, and you must be present to win. Now, before we get started with today's presentation, I do have to let you know that this project is supported by the Administration for Community Living, Department of Health and Human Services as part of a financial assistance award with 100% of the funding by ACL-HHS. The contents are those of the authors and do not necessarily represent the official views of, nor are they an endorsement by ACL, HHS, or the U.S. government. So who is Senior Medicare Patrol? Well, SMPs are grant-funded projects, like I said, from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Administration for Community Living. All SMP grantees have a shared national identity through a national program name and logo. Every state has its own Senior Medicare Patrol program. In Georgia, Louisiana, Mississippi, and Vermont, SMP is sponsored by AdviseWell. And the mission of our program is to empower and assist Medicare beneficiaries, their families and caregivers to prevent, detect, and report healthcare fraud, errors, and abuse. And we do that through outreach, counseling, and education. So before I turn things over to Danae, we do have a quick polling question for you. And today's question is have you ever received a phone call from someone offering you a free back or neck brace? I'm going to launch the poll and you should see that pop up on your screen and you can answer yes or no. Have you ever received a phone call from someone offering you a free back or knee brace? And we'll give everyone just a few moments to click in their response. We are at about 70% voted. I'll leave it open just a little bit longer. Go ahead and make your selection now if you can. All right, I'm going to go ahead and close the poll now and share the results. So it looks like about 45% of you said yes, that you have received a phone call like this, and 55% said no. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and turn things over to Danae now, and she's going to talk to us more about what durable medical equipment is and how fraud can occur with DME supplies. Danae?
Thank you so much, Sunny. I appreciate it. And good morning, everybody. I am Danae, and we are going to talk about what DME is and talk about the fraud. So first of all, what is DME? It is durable medical equipment. Basically, these supplies are prescribed by your doctor. These supplies or equipment is going to be reusable and has a usable life for about 3 years. Now, what I just said is very, very packed full of nuggets that we need to know as we're navigating this DME thing, and also when we start talking about fraud. So remember, it is prescribed by your doctor and is reusable for at least about 3 years, okay? Now, examples of this equipment would be back braces, knee braces, walkers, wheelchairs, hospital beds, home oxygen equipment, diabetic supplies, therapeutic shoes, scooters, and this is just to name a few. Listen closely to this next point, okay? To qualify for DME, you will need a prescription from your doctor So if you need durable medical equipment, you and your doctor will make that decision. They know your needs and they will prescribe DME based on a medical necessity. That is something to remember. Also, some equipment may need to be sized to best fit you or fit into your home. Medicare only covers DME if you get it from a supplier that is enrolled in a Medicare program. That is a very important point, you all. This whole slide is full of important points for us to be able to navigate DME and the fraud and scams that go along with it. Next slide, please. So what is DME fraud? Now that you know what DME is, let's talk about the type of fraud that's going on. These fraud and scams have been on the rise, y'all, and many people are getting calls from suppliers, quote unquote, that are offering free, quote unquote, equipment, or they're getting supplies in the mail that have not been ordered without them being ordered. So let's talk about the examples. First of all, billing for equipment that you have never received. That means that your provider may have you provided your Medicare number, and they have billed your Medicare for items that you have never received. So that would be one example for a fraud. Also, billing for equipment different than what you have received. That means the provider offers to send you one thing and then they bill Medicare for it, and then you receive something totally different. Often that provider will send multiple braces for different uses. Also, another example would be billing for equipment that you do not need. Remember, there has to be a medical necessity. Lastly, giving false or misleading information, such as offering free equipment when they are actually going to bill your Medicare. Y'all, I always say often in presentations that if they're gonna dangle a carrot, please don't be the rabbit, okay? Nothing is actually free. So just keep that in mind. Next slide. Let's talk about the potential DME scams and how they work. Some potential DME scams that lead to fraud would be: one, getting calls or visits from people saying that they represent Medicare and trying to sell you products. Number two would be many television and radio ads targeting beneficiaries to get them to order free, quote unquote, DME. These ads don't have your best interest in mind as the Medicare beneficiary. So just remember, just because it's on TV or you saw your favorite celebrity advertising it, does not mean that this is something you need to go and call about, because it does not have your best interest in mind, and also that medical necessity is not there for Medicare to take care of it. Something else that I really want you to pay attention to is aggressive marketing by durable medical equipment suppliers. Do not let anyone persuade you or pressure you into switching suppliers. Talk to your supplier first, because you may not need to make that change. Just when you're faced with that situation, stop, breathe, and either hang up or walk away, because you don't ever need to make a pressured decision. Seniors across the United States are receiving calls from people offering them free back braces and knee braces. They will ask you for your Medicare number, your date of birth, and other personal information. In some cases, the senior never receives this equipment, and but your Medicare is going to be billed anyway. Sometimes the senior receives this equipment, but it doesn't fit properly, or are unable to use it and have trouble returning it to the provider. But then your Medicare ends up having to pay for equipment that you're unable to use. So again, if you kind of go back and think about those first slides, you want to think about the fact that you may have to be properly fitted for this equipment. And if you're not properly fitted, the doctor, you and your doctor have not talked about it, that it's not going to be covered. Next slide. So we want to talk about the graphic, this graphic that you'll see that's produced by the Office of Inspector General. It's going to show you an example of how this scam actually works, so pay close attention. Now, it's going to start with the conspirator. The conspirators own the call centers where those telemarketers who are blowing your phones up are going to call you, and they're going to directly offer you a free or low-cost orthotic brace. These call centers are going to confirm that the beneficiary is on Medicare, and then they're going to transfer that to a telemedicine firm for a doctor's consultation. Then the doctor's telemedicine company will provide an orthotic brace regardless of the medical necessity, and then in turn, they're going to submit that brace prescription to the call center. The call center is going to collect those prescriptions and then sell it to a medical equipment company. After that medical equipment company buys the prescription, this medical equipment company is going to send the brace or multiple braces to the beneficiary. The company will bill your Medicare and pay those kickbacks to the conspirator. And then guess what? That cycle is going to start all over again. So this is going to explain to you how this works and why it's so important to protect your information from these conspirators, because they're capitalizing on you and your information. Next slide. Let's talk a little bit about urinary catheter scams. Now, urinary catheter scams are another type of fraud that has been on the rise. This scam involves billing Medicare beneficiary for urinary catheters regardless of the medical need. These catheters may or may not actually be sent to you. I actually talked to a Medicare beneficiary in a presentation at a senior center, and she was talking about what we'll talk about here in just a moment, which where the medical Medicare summary notices that you get. She happened to look at hers, and everything looked like with everything that she received, until she got to the bottom of it and saw that there was urinary catheters on her Medicare summary notice. So she knew that this was something that she did not have an issue with, and she and her doctor had not talked about it. So she had to call and get that off of there. So we talk about how to fight back on this type of scam is review your EOBs, which is your explanation of benefits, and your Medicare summary notices for fraudulent charges for urinary catheters. Don't accept a delivery that gives you equipment that has not been ordered. Also, be suspicious of any unsolicited or free offers of medical equipment, including urinary catheters, or talk to your doctor about those needs. So be suspicious unless you've talked to your doctor about those needs. Next slide. Also, we'll talk about wheelchair scams. Now, wheelchair scams are another very common type of durable medical equipment fraud. Medical and motorized wheelchairs can assist a beneficiary who has a chronic ailment or disability that prevents them from freely ambulating or walking. The power wheelchair industry has grown into an almost $1 billion per year industry. You've probably seen commercials on TV offering wheelchairs at little or no cost to you. please be aware of these Medicare, that Medicare rules stipulate that you must have a legitimate need before obtaining these devices. There must be a certificate of medical necessity signed by your doctor. Always remember that, y'all. Now, how these scams work? DME street scammers may approach you to offer a power wheelchair that is, there we go again, free. It'll be a free benefit for having Medicare. This is not the case, y'all. It is not free just for you having Medicare. The benefit must have a legitimate need. Also, copays or deductibles may have to be met, and the physician prescribing that device must have examined you as the patient, and that must be documented. The cost of this power device runs from anywhere between $1,500 to $6,000, depending upon the model. And in addition to that, accessories may be ordered that are not needed, driving that cost up even more by several $100,000. Now, often the scam artists will contact the beneficiary and use scare tactics, including telling them that their Medicare is running out of money, and that beneficiary needs to go ahead and get that piece of equipment, even if they don't need it at the time. Getting equipment now for possible needs in the future does not adhere to Medicare rules and therefore is illegal. Remember that. Now, how would we fight this? Do not let anyone talk you into stockpiling equipment for later use. If you do not need that equipment, it should only be ordered through your family Medicare physician. If you do need that equipment, it should only be ordered through your family physician. If someone calls you and tries to threaten or pressure you into something, simply hang up. Be aware that you are responsible for about 20% of that final amount, and including potential unnecessary add-ons or accessories for that device ordered. Frequently, those scammers are not going to explain that you will be responsible for 20% of that total cost. Next slide. So what can you do to stop DME fraud? Think about this. You want to protect your Medicare information at all times and at all costs. Again, when people are calling you and soliciting this information to you, don't give them any of your information. Refuse and report anyone offering you this equipment or these supplies in exchange for your Medicare number. If you happen to make the mistake of giving out your information, don't beat yourself up about it, y'all. Just look at your Medicare summary notice and your explanation of benefits. This is the best way to make sure that no one is using your Medicare number to commit fraud. If you are on the original Medicare, then you should receive your Medicare summary notice each quarter. If you're on the Medicare Advantage plan, you should receive an EOB or an explanation of benefits after you receive healthcare services. If you happen to see any suspicious items on your Medicare summary notice or your EOB, please report it. It is very important that you care about what's going on with your Medicare benefits. If Medicare pays for your equipment that you have never ordered or never received, when you need this equipment, then they're going to deny this, and because they're going to say that you've already received it. So just remember, it's important to be mindful and cognizant. If you see this on your Medicare summary notice or EOB, please report it, because you don't want to get stuck with the bill when you actually need that equipment, if you need it. So, y'all, we are going to go and turn this over to Miss Danielle. She's going to talk about the next part of our presentation, which is going to talk about the 3 keys to success in preventing Medicare fraud. Thank you for listening, and now we'll have Ms. Danielle.
Good morning, everybody. So we're going to talk about the 3 keys, which are prevent, detect, and report. So the first, next slide, please. The first key is prevent or prevention. Protecting your personal information is your best defense against healthcare fraud and abuse. Share your Medicare number only when necessary. That would be at your doctor's office or the pharmacy, or if you go to get lab work done, anything where it is healthcare related only. Only carry your Medicare card when you know you're going to need it or use it. I used to tell my mother, keep hers in a drawer until she knew she was going to the doctor. And that's what she did. That way, if someone steals your purse or your wallet, they won't also have your Medicare number. Remember, Medicare is never going to call you, and they're never going to ask you for your Medicare number for any reason. Keep records of all your medical visits and procedures that take place and any medical equipment ordered. So if you go to the doctor and you have lab work or you have an x-ray done, jot it down on your calendar. Then when you get your explanation of benefits or you get your Medicare summary notice, you can check back and say, oh yeah, I did have that done that day. Next slide, please. So detection is the second key. Knowing how to spot suspicious activity can help you stop healthcare fraud and abuse in its track. Always review your Medicare summary notice, also known as an MSN, or your explanation of benefits, also known as an EOB. MSNs are mailed to you by Medicare every 3 months. And if you have a Medicare Advantage plan, you're going to receive an explanation of benefits after you've seen your doctor or received any other health care services. Compare your statements to your personal records and look for the following items. Did you have a medical appointment that you did not attend or were double billed for? Were you billed for medical equipment such as braces, catheters, or diabetic supplies that you either did not order or did not receive? Next slide. And the third and final key is to report. If you suspect you have been a target of fraud, report it. This will help you and others at risk for healthcare scams. Here are some steps to report suspicious behavior. If you receive a suspicious call, don't give out any personal information. Report that call immediately to Senior Medicare Patrol. If you have questions about your Medicare statements, you call your healthcare provider or your plan. If you aren't comfortable calling your provider or you aren't satisfied with the response you get, call Senior Medicare Patrol at our 877 hotline number, which is shown on your screen. That's 877-272-8720. Next slide. You might be wondering how you can become involved. Senior Medicare Patrol is always looking for civic-minded individuals to join our fight against Medicare fraud. The benefits of volunteering for our program include gaining the satisfaction of participating in a national effort to empower members of your own community to prevent, detect, and report healthcare fraud, errors, and abuse. Our volunteers receive training on the basics of Medicare and healthcare errors, fraud, abuse, and scams. In addition to giving presentations and attending community events, our volunteers participate in bi-monthly webinars and various training opportunities throughout the year. We also host a really nice volunteer appreciation event in April for National Volunteer Week. Volunteering for the SMP program is extremely flexible and is done on an as-needed basis. Volunteers are offered opportunities and have the option to decline if they are not available. They determine how often they'd like to participate. We also want to mention that this is a great volunteering opportunity for couples. In the past, we've had couples team up to volunteer, give presentations, and attend community events. If you think volunteering for SMP is something you might be interested in, give us a call at our toll-free number, 877-272-8720. We would be more than happy to send you one of our volunteer information packets and answer any questions you might have on the process. Next slide. If you want to stay up to date on the latest scams impacting older adults in your community, just scan the QR code using the camera on your cell phone to be guided to our social media platforms, including our Facebook for Georgia, Louisiana, Mississippi, Vermont, and also we have Spanish Facebook pages. We also have YouTube, and our podcast, Sip and Learn with SMP, is on Spotify and Apple Podcast. Our state-specific SMP Facebook pages especially are a great resource for our older adults and their care partners to find out about what is the latest scams happening as soon as we learn about them from the reports called into us or from our community partners. Next. As mentioned in our previous slides, we have a toll-free number, 877-272-8720, and you can call to report potential healthcare fraud or to ask us questions about potential fraud. Even to request that we attend your event or speak to your group on our fraud prevention messages. The SMP cannot be successful in fighting Medicare fraud without the reports from people like yourself and invites allowing us to reach our older and disabled adults in your community. Additionally, you can visit our website at www.stopmedicarefraud.org for more information about the SMP program in your state. Our website can be viewed in multiple languages by adjusting the language tab at the top right part of your screen. Next slide. I'm going to turn everything back over to Sunny now, and she's going to talk about our next month's upcoming webinar. Thank you so much for allowing us to talk to you.
Yes, thank you, Danielle and Danae, for that information. I just want to remind folks that our organization does cover Georgia, Louisiana, Mississippi, and Vermont. But if you live in or need assistance in another state, you can visit the SMP Resource Center. Their website has a Find SMP Near You link. That website is smpresource.org, or you can call their toll-free hotline number, which is 877-808-2468. So coming up next month for Webinar Wednesdays, our August topic is going to be pharmacy and prescription drug fraud and scams. That webinar is scheduled for Wednesday, August 28th at 10:30 Central, 11:30 Eastern Time. So just be on the lookout for registration information for that webinar. And now it's time for our prize drawing. So everyone who was registered for today's event prior to 10:15 a.m., they had their name entered into a drawing on a prize wheel. And let me get that screen popped up for you. You do have to be present to win. We did have a lot of folks register for today's webinar, and it looks like about half of you are here. So hopefully we won't have to spin it too many times to get a winner, but let's go ahead and give it a spin and see. Let's see, Miss Sandra Harrell. I do not think she is here. I don't see her name, so I'll remove her. We'll give it another spin. Philip Adam, unfortunately, I don't see him logged in as well. I'll do this a few more times and we may have to go offline with it if I can't get someone who's here present with us. Charlie Adam. Oh, I apologize, folks. We had a lot of people register for today's webinar. Okay, I'm going to do it one more time, and if we don't have a winner here that's present, I'm going to take it offline and remove all the names of the folks who weren't in attendance, and then I'll just email you directly with the winner. Oh, it looks like we have one, Miss Julie Smith. So congratulations for being our prize drawing winner for this afternoon. I'll be reaching out to you in an email, and you can let me know whether you'd like to receive your choice of a $25 Walmart or Amazon e-gift card. So just be on the lookout for my email a little bit later this afternoon. All right, let's get back to our screen here. Let's see. There we go. All right, I passed it up. All right, so before we wrap up today's presentation, I want to open it up to questions. Does anybody want to raise their hand and ask us a question about the information that we presented to you all today? You can see here on the graphic, there's an arrow pointing to the little hand in your GoToWebinar control panel that you have. You can raise your hand and ask us now if you'd like. I don't see any questions in the chat, so nothing came through while we were doing the presentation. All right, well, this concludes our presentation today on durable medical equipment fraud and scams. You will receive an email later today with a link to a short survey. We would appreciate it if you would complete the survey just to let ACL know how we did today. We appreciate you joining us this afternoon, or this morning, I'm sorry. And we hope you will join us again soon for another Webinar Wednesdays with SMP. So thank you, Danae and Danielle, for presenting, and I hope you all enjoy the rest of your day.